Be me. A few years ago, around 20 or 21, just your average college guy. Not a total loser, but definitely not a stud. A bit overweight, call it skinny fat. Mostly wore hoodies and jeans. My main problem wasn't looks. It was a complete lack of a spine. Had this friend, let's call her Diane. Known her since the start of college. We had a couple of classes together and just clicked. Or so I thought. To me, she was the sun and the moon. Smart, funny, and beautiful in that girl-next-door way. To her, I was useful. I was head over heels for this girl. A classic textbook case. And I was so deep in the friend zone, I was practically a founding father of the territory. My life back then revolved around her schedule. My phone was essentially her personal hotline. A typical week would start with a call around 1 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'd be half asleep, and my phone would buzz with her name. It was always a crisis. Michael, can you please come get me? Some random dude's name was a total jerk and left me here. Here was always some party or a bar on the other side of town. A good 40-minute drive. I never said no. I'd get dressed, get in my beat-up car, and drive out to rescue her. I'd find her sitting on a curb, usually crying, sometimes drunk. She'd get in my car, and the waterworks would start all over again. I'd listen for the entire drive back as she vented about how this guy was amazing at first, but then he just turned into a jerk. It was always the same story, just with a different name. I'd drop her off at her dorm, she'd give me a quick, teary-eyed, "You're the best. I don't know what I'd do without you," and then disappear inside. I'd drive home, exhausted, smelling like her cheap perfume and stale beer. I'd get to bed around 3 a.m., knowing I had an 8 a.m. class. But in my naive mind, I thought, this is it. This is how she'll realize I'm the one who's always there for her. What a fool. The next day, she'd need help with something else. It could be anything. My laptop is making a weird noise. Can you look at it? You're so good with computers. So I'd spend my afternoon running diagnostics while she FaceTimed her friends, laughing and gossiping. Or it would be, I don't understand this assignment at all. Can you just explain it to me? Explaining always turned into me, sitting there for 5 hours, basically outlining the entire paper for her. She'd turn it in, get an A, and then post on social media about how she worked so hard on it. I was her personal IT department, her tutor, her handyman. One time, she asked me to help her assemble a new bookshelf from IKEA. I spent an entire Saturday afternoon deciphering those cryptic Swedish instructions, sweating and getting blisters on my hands. She sat on her bed, scrolling through Instagram, occasionally saying, "You're almost done, right?" When I finished, she put one book on it, took a picture, and captioned it, "Love my new DIY project. #girlpower." I didn't even get a thank you. Just a, "Okay, you can go now, I'm meeting up with friends." And then there was the money. She was always broke, always. "Let's go get lunch," she'd text. She'd pick the place, usually some trendy cafe that was way out of my budget. We'd order, eat, and when the check came, she'd do this whole performance of patting down her pockets. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. I think I left my wallet in my other purse. Can you get this? I'll totally pay you back. She never paid me back. Not once. It happened so often, it became a running joke with myself. I started to factor in the Diane tax into my weekly budget. Movies, coffee, concert tickets. It was always on my dime. I was a walking, talking ATM with a heartbeat. The worst part is, I let it happen. I convinced myself that this was just what friends did, and that if I kept doing it, she'd eventually see my value. She saw my value, all right. Just not in the way I wanted. The guys she dated were a parade of walking red flags. There was the aspiring DJ who cheated on her, the guy with a motorcycle and a temper, the one who was finding himself and living off her meal plan. After every breakup, I was the one who had to pick up the pieces. I'd bring her ice cream and listen to her sob for hours. She would say things like, "Why do I always fall for the wrong guys? Why can't I just find someone nice like you?" That sentence was a dagger to my heart every single time. It gave me this tiny, pathetic flicker of hope. I'd think, maybe this time she gets it. But a week later, she'd be texting me, excited about some new guy she met. And he was always, without fail, a carbon copy of the last one. My friends tried to warn me. "Dude, she's using you. You need to cut her off. She's never going to see you as anything more than a doormat." I didn't listen. I told them they just didn't understand our special connection. I was so blinded by my own hope that I couldn't see the reality right in front of my face. She would even use me to make them jealous. She'd post pictures of us hanging out with captions like, "My forever bestie, the only man I can count on." Her boyfriends would get jealous, they'd have a fight, and then she'd come crying to me about how controlling they were. It was a sick, twisted cycle, and I was the fuel that kept it going. Sometimes she'd invite me to hang out with her and her other friends. I always felt like an outsider. They'd all be talking about parties I wasn't invited to or inside jokes I didn't get. Diane would introduce me as her sweet friend, Michael. I was like a pet she brought along to show everyone how she could be friends with a nice guy. I remember one night we were at a bar. It was me, her, and two of her girlfriends. Of course, I ended up paying for the first round. A group of guys came over to their table. Diane and her friends immediately lit up. I just sat there, invisible. For the next hour, I watched as she flirted outrageously with some tall guy in a leather jacket. She didn't look at me once. It was like I had completely ceased to exist. I eventually just got up and left. She texted me an hour later. "Hey, where'd you go?" Not, "Are you okay?" Or, "Why did you leave?" Just, "Where'd you go?" I replied that I was tired and went home. Her response, "LOLK." That night, I couldn't sleep. I just laid in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling like the biggest idiot on the planet. But the next morning, she texted me asking for help on a project, and like a trained dog, I came running. The addiction was that strong. This went on for nearly 2 years. 2 years of my life, my money, and my emotional energy poured into a black hole. My grades started slipping. I stopped hanging out with my other friends. My entire existence was a waiting game, waiting for her to text, waiting for her to need me, waiting for her to finally wake up and realize I was the guy she should be with. The breaking point came, as it always does, when I least expected it. It wasn't some huge, dramatic fight. It was quiet. It was pathetic. And it was all about my birthday. My 22nd birthday was coming up. For the first time, I decided to do something for myself. I wanted to take her to a really nice dinner. Not a cafe, not a bar. A real, grown-up restaurant with cloth napkins and waiters who pull out your chair. I saved up for 2 months. I skipped lunches, sold some old video games. I made a reservation a month in advance. In my head, this was going to be the night. I was going to tell her how I felt. I figured, if she sees the effort, if she sees how serious I am, it has to change something. I asked her a week before. I was so nervous my hands were shaking. "Hey, for my birthday, I was wondering if you'd let me take you out to a nice dinner. Just the two of us." She smiled that smile that always made my stomach do flips. "Aw, Michael, of course. I'd love to. I'll even wear a dress." I was on cloud 9 for the entire week. I bought a new shirt. I got a haircut. I practiced my confession in the mirror. The day finally came. I spent an hour getting ready. I was a nervous wreck, but also incredibly excited. I got to the restaurant 15 minutes early. I told the host my name, and he led me to a quiet table in the corner. It was perfect. I sat there, sipping my water, checking my phone every 30 seconds. The reservation was for 7:30. 7:30 came and went. No Diane. I told myself, she's probably just running late. She's a girl. It takes time to get ready. 7:45. I sent a text. Hey, I'm here at the table. No rush. No reply. 8 o'clock. The waiter came by and asked if I wanted to order. I told him I was still waiting for someone. He gave me this look, a look of pure pity. I've never forgotten it. 8:15. I started to feel a cold dread creep into my stomach. I called her. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. My mind was racing. Did something happen? Was she in an accident? But a part of me, the part I had been ignoring for 2 years, already knew the truth. 8:30. I had been sitting alone at a table for two for an hour. People at other tables were starting to look. I felt my face burning with humiliation. I was about to just get up and leave when my phone buzzed. It was a text from her. Finally. My heart leaped. Maybe there was a good reason. I opened the message, and my world just stopped. The text read, "So sorry. Totally forgot to tell you. I can't make it. Brad surprised me, and a bunch of us are going to this awesome concert. It was super last minute. We can celebrate your birthday some other time. Happy birthday." I read the text once, then a second time, then a third. Brad. That was the new guy of the week. She didn't just stand me up. She completely forgot. My birthday, our special dinner, meant so little to her that it just slipped her mind until she needed to cancel. The casualness of it was what killed me. The sorry, the LOL, the winky face emoji. It was a knife, and she twisted it without even realizing she was holding it. I just sat there, staring at my phone. There was no anger, no sadness, just nothing. It was like a switch had been flipped. The 2 years of hope, of waiting, of pathetic devotion, it all just evaporated. All I felt was a profound and bottomless emptiness. I saw the entire relationship for what it was. I wasn't her friend. I was her backup plan, her convenience, her human safety net, and she had just cut me loose without a second thought because something better came along. I calmly placed my phone on the table. I signaled the waiter, "Just the check for the water, please." He nodded, still with that look of pity. I paid, left a generous tip, and walked out of the restaurant. The night air was cold. I walked home. I didn't take a cab or a bus. I just walked. It was a long walk. When I got back to my apartment, I sat on my bed in the dark. I picked up my phone. I opened my contacts list, found her name. I stared at it for a minute. Then I pressed delete. I went to all my social media. I unfollowed her. Then I blocked her on everything. Phone number, Facebook, Instagram, all of it. It was over. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel free. I just felt quiet. That night, the old Michael, the nice guy, the doormat, died, and I had no idea who or what was going to be born from the ashes. The first few weeks were hollow. It was like quitting a bad habit. My thumb would instinctively go to her contact, only to find it gone. I'd hear my phone buzz, and for a split second, my heart would jump, expecting her name to be on the screen. The silence was deafening. My evenings, which were usually reserved for her drama, were suddenly empty. I realized how much of my life I had outsourced to her. My time, my energy, my thoughts. I was just an accessory in her life, and without her, I didn't know what my own life was supposed to look like. I felt pathetic, not because I missed her, but because I realized I had nothing else. That feeling was the real rock bottom, lower than the humiliation at the restaurant. One Saturday, I was just sitting in my room, staring at the wall, when a friend I hadn't spoken to in months called me. He was one of the guys who had tried to warn me about her. He didn't say, "I told you so." He just asked if I wanted to go to the gym with him. I had nothing else to do, so I said yes. I remember walking in there. I was weak, out of shape, and felt like everyone was staring at me. I could barely bench the bar. My friend was patient. showed me the ropes. Every lift was painful. My muscles screamed. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a different kind of pain, a productive pain. It wasn't the dull ache of emotional exhaustion. It was sharp, real, and something I could control. So I went back the next day, and the day after that. The gym became my therapy. All the frustration, the anger at myself, the years of repressed feelings. I poured it all into the weights. I stopped thinking about Diane. I started thinking about hitting a new personal record. I fixed my diet. No more late-night junk food. I learned how to cook. The weight started to come off. Slowly at first, then all at once. The skinny fat guy in the mirror was gradually being replaced by someone I didn't recognize, someone who looked capable. With the new physical discipline came mental clarity. I had all this free time and money now. It was amazing how much cash I had when I wasn't funding someone else's lifestyle. I looked at my grades and was disgusted. I was on the verge of failing a key class. I channeled my new gym discipline into my studies. I spent my nights in the library, not waiting by the phone. I caught up. I started acing my exams. I also realized I hated my major. It wasn't for me. I had some elective credits in marketing that I'd actually enjoyed. So, using the money I saved, I enrolled in some online certification courses for digital marketing and data analytics. It was fascinating. It was all about strategy, psychology, and tangible results. No gray areas, no emotional manipulation, just data. For the first time, I felt passionate about something that was purely for me. A year went by like that. In a blur of iron, textbooks, and healthy food, I had lost over 40 pounds of fat and gained a good 15 pounds of muscle. I threw out all my old hoodies and baggy jeans. I bought clothes that actually fit. My old friends, the ones I'd pushed away, came back into my life. We'd go out, have a good time. They never mentioned Diane. It was like an unspoken rule. We all just moved on. I finished my certifications and started applying for internships. I landed one at a decent marketing firm downtown. It was unpaid, but the experience was incredible. I worked my tail off. I was the first one in, the last one out. The CEO of the company noticed. A guy in his late 40s, sharp as a tack. He saw my work ethic and the results of the campaigns I assisted on. 3 months into the internship, he called me into his office. He offered me a full-time salaried position as a junior project manager. The salary was more money than I had ever seen in my life. I walked out of that office feeling 10 feet tall. That evening, I updated my LinkedIn profile. I didn't think anything of it. It was just a professional thing to do. It turns out that was the catalyst for the past to come crawling back. A few weeks later, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, it's Sarah. Remember me? From Diane's circle?" My blood ran a little cold. I replied, vaguely, "What's up?" "So this is super random, but Diane lost your number and was hoping you could text her. She really wants to catch up." I just stared at the message. A year of silence, and this is how she reaches out. Not even directly, through a proxy. The old me would have been thrilled. My heart would be pounding. The new me just felt tired. But there was also a sliver of cold, detached curiosity. I wanted to see what she wanted. I wanted to see if I was truly over it. I told Sarah to give Diane my number. A few hours later, my phone lit up with a text from her. "Hey, stranger. It's been forever. I heard you're doing amazing things, so proud of you. We should totally grab coffee and catch up for old time's sake." The "for old time's sake" line was the hook, the classic manipulation. I thought about it for a minute. What was the worst that could happen? I had my own life now, a career, confidence. She had no power over me. So I agreed. Sure, how about Tuesday afternoon? We set a time and a place, a neutral coffee shop halfway between my office and her part of town. I walked into the coffee shop on Tuesday. I wasn't nervous. I just felt calm. I saw her sitting at a table in the corner. For a second, my brain didn't register it was her. She looked exactly the same. Same hairstyle, same style of clothing. But it was like I was seeing her for the first time without the filter of my infatuation. She looked small, ordinary. She saw me and her eyes widened. I could see her taking in the change, the suit I was wearing for work, the way I carried myself. I walked over to the table. Diane. Michael. Wow. You look amazing. I gave a polite nod. You look the same. I don't think she caught the double meaning. The first 10 minutes were painfully awkward. She tried to make small talk, asking about my job. I gave her short, professional answers. I didn't offer details. I didn't ask about her life. I was practicing what I later learned was called the gray rock method. I was as interesting as a gray rock. She started getting visibly frustrated. Her usual charm wasn't working, so she switched tactics. She went for sympathy. She started complaining about her current boyfriend, some new guy named Kevin. Same old story. He was controlling. He didn't appreciate her, etc. She looked at me, expecting the old Michael to jump in with advice and comforting words. I just sipped my coffee. When she finished her rant, I just said, "That sounds difficult." No emotion, no engagement, just a statement of fact. The silence that followed was heavy. She was realizing the person she came to meet was gone. She took a deep breath. This was it, the final play. "You know, Michael," she started, her voice getting soft and a little shaky. "Seeing you like this, it's made me realize a lot of things." I stayed silent, just watching her. I was so stupid back then. I was young, and I made so many mistakes. I dated all those awful guys. She paused, looking for a reaction. I gave her none. And the whole time, the one person who was actually good, who actually cared about me, was right in front of me. And I was too blind to see it. Her eyes started to get watery. It was a good performance. I'll give her that. "I miss you, Michael. I miss what we had. I think I've always been in love with you. I was just too scared to admit it. I made a terrible mistake letting you go." She reached across the table, trying to take my hand. "I want to be with you. I want to be the woman you deserve. We can start over." There it was. The words I had dreamed of hearing for 2 years. The confession that I thought would fix everything. And as I heard them, I felt absolutely nothing. No joy, no anger, not even satisfaction. It was like listening to a business proposal that I had zero interest in. I looked at her teary eyes and hopeful expression, and I saw her for what she was. A user. She wasn't attracted to me. She was attracted to my success. I was no longer the convenient doormat. I was a potential upgrade, a provider, a status symbol. She hadn't changed at all. I let her finish. I let the silence hang in the air for a few seconds. I gently moved my hand away from hers. I looked her straight in the eye, and with a voice that was perfectly calm and devoid of any emotion, I said one word. No. Her face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. First, confusion, like she didn't understand the word. Then, disbelief, as if I had misspoken. Then panic. She started to stammer. "No? What do you mean, no? I mean, no. I'm not interested. But I just told you I love you. I was always there for you." The sheer audacity of that last sentence almost made me laugh. "No, you weren't," I said, my voice still level. "I was always there for you." There's a difference. Her face hardened. The mask was off. The tears were gone, replaced by a flash of anger. "So that's it? You get a fancy job and a new haircut, and suddenly you're too good for me? After everything I did for you?" I just stood up. "I wish you the best, Diane." I put a $10 bill on the table to cover our coffees and walked out of the shop without looking back. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. That night, my phone blew up with messages from a new number. It was her. First, begging, pleading for a second chance. When I didn't reply, the messages turned angry, accusing me of leading her on, of being cruel. I blocked the new number. A day later, I started seeing things on social media. Vague posts on her timeline, clearly about me. It's sad when people let a little success turn them into monsters. Some people will break your heart and then act like you were the one holding the hammer. Then, the stories started getting back to me through mutual acquaintances. She was telling everyone that we had been secretly in love for years, that I had begged her to be with me. And now that I was successful, I had called her out of the blue, took her on a date, let her pour her heart out, and then laughed in her face just to be cruel. She painted herself as the victim, the heartbroken girl who was tossed aside by a newly arrogant jerk. Some people believed her. I got a few angry messages from her friends. I blocked them too. A year ago, this would have destroyed me. I would have been desperate to clear my name. But now, I didn't care. Her lies had no power over me. My life was good. I was happy. I was successful. My real friends, the ones who mattered, knew the truth. They had seen it with their own eyes. Her smear campaign was just the final pathetic tantrum of a manipulator who had lost control. Her reaction proved that my decision to say no was the best decision I've ever made. I never heard from her again. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. In a weird way, I'm almost grateful. She was the catalyst. She broke me down so completely that I had no choice but to rebuild myself from scratch. And the man I am today is stronger than she could ever imagine. She didn't make me who I am, but her actions forced me to make myself. And for that, I've already won.